Can stats tell us who is the greatest January transfer signing of all time?
Keep watching to find out. Welcome to the Corridor of Uncertainty, a podcast at the intersection of maths and sport. My name's Rich.
And I'm Jess.
And we're both mathematicians at the University of York who love to spend a long time talking about sport. So we thought we'd make a podcast so we can talk about it even more. What are we on today then, Jess?
Well, it's January, so I thought there's only one thing we should be talking about. Who's the best ever January signing?
Yes. Yeah. Can we use stats to prove this?
I think what we're learning is no, you can't use stats to prove anything, but hopefully it could help us with the debate.
Yes. Yeah. Can inform our debate better.
Yeah, exactly. So when I say that, do any January transfers stick in your mind as candidates?
Well, I would say Alassane Jatta for Notts County. the Gambian forward is a great. Well, he signed in February, but because it's international. But yeah. Well, it's a great January signing.
Absolutely, that is the name that people will be screaming right now at the screen. I'm going to restrict it then to the Premier League's best ever January transfer.
Right.
So I've seen this in a couple of places. You know, like you say, we spend too much time talking about sport, reading about sport, thinking about sport. So I was reading 442 magazine. They've done a piece on it. It's one of their debates where they sort of get the readers to discuss and vote, and then two columnists pick a side and put their case forward. So we'll return to that later. I also saw it on the Premier League's website itself. I'd recommend both those articles, both really, really good reads. Mm-hmm. So the one that jumped into my head straight away was Van Dijk. Right. We'll come back to that in a moment. I know you've got your feelings about Van Dijk.
He's a great player. Did cost a lot of money.
Did cost a lot of money.
A little bit on the decline, but anyway.
Interesting point. So to counter that then, I'm just stealing this straight off the Premier League's article on this, the Premier League website. We'll put a link to it. They had some good honourable mentions. Right. And so to counter your Van Dijk was very expensive, I'm going to give you Seamus Coleman, Everton, 2009. Right.
Yes, yeah. So he was in the list that I saw as well.
Yeah. What a good one, £60,000.
Yes.
Sligo Rovers.
Yeah, so he's currently, I suppose, he's a good example of a January signing where you're actually making a signing then in order to jump on it in the hope that nobody notices it. Okay. Rather than Van Dijk is maybe more of a we really need a defender, so we're going to overpay. You know, that's always the thing about January is are you overpaying for transfers? Mark Gahey, City have paid 20 million for half a year of him. Yeah. So you get that overpaying risk in January.
Absolutely. And I think that's what we'll come to this later. I think when you have your reservations about Van Dijk, I don't know, there's something about it. The question is January signing. Yeah. So, and I think that there is something different about a January signing to a summer signing. Yep. Like you say, it might be reactive because somebody's been injured, or it might be, we've just got this missing ingredient. We just need this one player to get us over the line. So I think that sort of metric aspect is going to come into our discussions. Yeah. So you'd say that Seamus Coleman was kind of...
Yeah, so it's a good example of, say, jumping on it before anybody else gets there.
Yeah.
And then 60 grand is cheap, yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that. 2009, £60,000 is cheap. I mean, it's not cheap, is it? But it is cheap in these numbers. The other one that I liked off the Premier League website, honourable mention, so didn't get into their actual candidates. But I'm going to phrase it in a bit of a strange way. Like we said, when we're thinking about metrics of which to judge these things. Mikel Arteta. Mm-hmm. Now, I mean, Mikel Arteta did a job, like we've just said, as a footballer. But I would argue that Mikel Arteta as a manager, I mean, they've been the bridesmaids for a few years. Yeah. Maybe they're going to go all the way this year. But this is definitely one of their most successful periods in recent history. Following Wenger. So I would argue that if he hadn't have signed in January, would he be the Arsenal manager today? Right. And so would this success have happened? So he's like a buy one, get one free. That's
Arteta. A very hard stat to quantify in that case. But yeah, certainly I was thinking, I don't know when he signed for Everton as well, but he did very well as a player there too.
Yeah, that's true.
As a manager, well, this is not him signing as a manager. This is him signing as a player.
But I'm saying it's set in motion.
If he didn't sign for Arsenal, he wouldn't be.
He wouldn't be the manager today.
No,
I don't
think you're right. Certainly, he wouldn't have been given any kind of freedom to go wrong a bit at the start.
Absolutely. So they're my sort of curveball, silly suggestions. Yep. But if you, like I say, if you go on the Premier League website, if you look in the 442 magazine, there's 3 names that are said more than others. So this is the image of the Premier League website. So I think we can see who their top 3 are.
Yep.
I like Suarez as an option. Because I think Suarez is what we were talking about, a true January signing, because they'd sold Torres, I believe, to Chelsea. Yep. So I'd argue for Torres to Chelsea as a top January signing.
Well, he didn't do very well at Chelsea.
Critical goal, though, in the Champions League. Yeah. That we always remember.
Can't measure clutch.
So I think that Suarez is in the category of a true January transfer signing. But when you read the kind of debate and you read the articles, things that people are saying about Suarez, they go, yeah, he did lots of good things. He had one of the most incredible individual seasons of all time, won the Premier League Player of the Year, and so on and so forth. But here's a quote: only there for 3 seasons and didn't win the league.
Right.
So how can he be the best ever transfer?
Yes, that's a definite outcome bias, and there's only apparently one outcome that matters in that measurement. But it's not bad. So in my analysis, Suarez now falls by the wayside, and we just end up with the head-to-head Vidic versus Van Dijk. Yes. Like I said, that's what they're looking at in the 442 magazine, though Suarez polled higher with the readers of 442 magazine. Right.
With about 30% of the vote, higher than Vidic.
Right.
The journalists chose to go with Vidic versus Van Dijk. So
and they probably didn't want 2 Liverpool signings for debate either as well. But.
Well, yeah, that's true. But like I say, only there for 3 seasons, didn't win the league. Yeah. I think is a fair comment. And like I say, when you start looking at the stats of things that Vidic and Van Dijk have done, I do agree that Suarez kind of does fall out of the race a little bit. So, like I say, when I'm gathering the thoughts of people on who are the top January transfer signings, I'm trying to take a scientific approach here. So, my initial reaction was Van Dijk, but I want to be a scientist and I want to look at the data and I want to think, okay, is it Van Dijk? Yeah. Or is it a Man United player? I mean, there's going to have to be a lot of evidence for me to think it's a Man United player, particularly this Man United player. But I'm an open-minded scientist. I'm not bringing any bias to it whatsoever. So I was trying to think, what have people been saying, and trying to take the essence of it and try and quantify it. Like, how could we measure it? Yeah. So there's 2 parts to that sentence. Only there for 3 seasons. Yeah. So it seems that people want, like Seamus Coleman, someone who's been there for a long time, didn't just come and go.
Still there, Seamus Coleman.
Yep. Yeah. And then didn't win the league is the next one. So we want to see some trophies. We want to see them doing well. I mean, I'm going to argue that a little bit later on, but that seems to be what people are saying is a metric.
Yeah, so if you're making this big January signing, like you say, a responsive signing, it's usually, often going to be an expensive signing. Is it then that they want to see a big return on that investment? Yeah.
So we want to see an immediate impact. Like we say, we want them to stay and have maybe a long-term impact. Yeah. So I started looking, these are the things that they're sort of quoting. So we're moving slightly mathematical into some numbers about titles and things like that. Right. So obviously Van Dijk's still having appearances, but they're both over 300. So I don't think that can we can't separate them on that. No. Looking at titles, they've got a Champions League title each, I believe. They've got 3 domestic cups each. Right. So that splits slightly differently. Van Dijk's got 1 FA Cup, 2 League Cups. Right. Vidic has got 3 League Cups.
The general hierarchy is FA Cups are worth a bit more. I mean, people tend to value them a bit more.
I would say that. And I think it's a bit like Vidic didn't complete the collection, did I mean, I was shocked. I remember when Man U won the FA Cup and they were saying, this is the first time Rooney's won the FA Cup. And I couldn't believe it because you just feel like they'd won everything. But yeah, the FA Cup did elude them.
Right.
For a number of years. Yeah, it was... was it Louis van Gaal? It was one of the managers that they sacked, won the FA Cup and then they sacked. Yeah, but it was a milestone that they won the FA Cup. One of many. So again, maybe the tiebreaker is Van Dijk there because they've got the same overall number, but he's got both types. Yep. And like we say, I think FA Cup's a bit more special, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
So then league titles, if we come back to, they've both won the league, but Vidic is winning in this metric.
Yep.
I think they won 5 times. Vidic has got 5 Premier League titles.
Yeah.
Again, Van Dijk's got 2 so far. You never know.
Yeah, could be.
But on that
Unlikely
metric,
this year, but yeah.
maybe Vidic is winning.
Yeah. These are all rare things, though, so it's not week to week, but yeah.
Exactly. So that's where my mind started going, trying to take that scientific approach.
Yeah.
Because it really reminded me of some work that our colleagues, collaborators have done before. So James Reed, friend of the podcast, we're working with him on some ELO rating stuff, which we'll get to in a moment. But the thing that people say about like league titles is there's a lot of inherent randomness, and that sort of the quote from James Reed is that the league does lie.
Right.
That sometimes, you know, we've talked about this before, there's so much randomness in there. You might win the league by goal difference, by 1 point.
Yeah.
And actually, can we say that that team is better than second place?
Yeah, so I'm not sure on the year, but like the year Liverpool lost the title by 1 point and against City, and that was down to possibly down to a very bad handball decision in the Man City Everton game. And anyway,
interesting.
Long time ago,
so we turn to these ELO ratings, which are they're trying to kind of account for.
So this is ELO, like the chess ELO ratings.
Yeah, so it's, I always want to call them ELO ratings.
Well, everybody calls them ELO ratings. It's ELO ratings for chess, named after a person called Elo. But the rankings of teams via win-loss records.
Yeah, absolutely. And the chess was where it all started in the, I've got it down, I've got the reference, 1978.
Yep.
In a book. And we've talked about this before, there's something great about chess. You can draw chess, but you normally win and lose.
Yeah.
And, you know, players play against each other. That, like we've said before, there's not as much randomness. So that kind of is very instructive about where these people should be ranked if you've got that information about them playing against each other. But it's been widely adopted. It's been applied to football. And basically, like we say, the idea is, you've already said it, you're going to use all these factors like the actual results to kind of, you want to have a rating for a team. You're going to update it every single match because you get information, they've beaten this team, so we can maybe adjust that rating. And of course, the higher the better. Yeah. Now, like I say, if I'm talking to Mrs. Hargreaves now, that's all you need to know for the rest of this bit I'm going to do. It's a way of assessing how well a team has done. Anyway, so there we go. That's what ELO ratings look like as you plot them through time. I've just kind of stuck, because we're talking about the Premier League's January transfer signing. So I've kind of encapsulated the Premier League there. And we can see, can't we? You know, if we look at the end, you can see Liverpool, those days when it's Liverpool, Man City. If you look in sort of the middle there, you can see the days where it's Man U, Chelsea. I put Man U in black. Yeah.
To spot the difference. Well, they did play in black for a while anyway.
Yeah.
I think before Vidic, but yeah.
So happy with ELO ratings.
Yep. Yeah.
So then, right, let's get back to the question in hand then. So we wanted to know, January transfer signing, has it made an impact, or can we see a difference?
Well, basically Vidic versus Van Dijk.
Yeah.
Who has made more of a difference to their ELO ratings.
Yep. So this reminded me of something called changepoint analysis.
Right.
Have you ever heard of it?
I've heard of it. I couldn't tell you what it is.
Right. Actually, the name's helpful, changepoint analysis.
I'm guessing it's about the change around a point.
Yes. You're looking at a point in time where something changed.
Yeah.
So go on Wikipedia for the Wikipedia version. It's not bad. Yep. I'll say this was not the basis of my PhD, but it's on the fringe. So I'm like aware of it. And this has been a really good, because like we say, doing this podcast, it's our job. Yeah, we are working. We're at the University of York and we're working right now. So it was here was me pretending to work and looking at stuff that could inform my research in the future. Change point analysis. Yeah, people in wavelet world do think about change point analysis. Right. So basically, you've got so what we've seen here is a time series. That when I'm plotting the ratings over time, it's
what we call a time series because it's a regular series of points measured over time of the same thing. Yeah.
So it's not like classically, if I'm in probability and statistics world, I'm rolling a die. Yeah. That's what we call independent identically distributed. That's different to a time series like rain, or temperature, where the temperature now is dependent on the last observation as opposed to the roll of my die.
Yep.
And like we know, this is why I think I'm not going to show my maths PhD supervisor this, because I think this is a bit dodgy. So I'd love people to, as I say, this is my first foray into the world of change point analysis. Not claiming to be an expert here. I think it's a bit dodgy. But anyway, so we know it's kind of absolutely dependent on the last observation, because we've just seen you like update it, right, by an amount. So yes, it is like the rain more than the die. So go on Wikipedia. I think it's really nice. This is a classic example in change point analysis world. You're looking at the yearly volume of the Nile River at Aswan.
Yeah.
And then, so you can see yearly volume, right? And then there's a point in time where, it goes much, much lower on average.
Yep.
And that's when they built the old Aswan Dam, right? So it does make sense that you've seen something. So, like you said, straight away, change point analysis. Your first question is there a point where this time series changes?
Yeah.
Or is there more than one? And if so, where in time are they?
Yeah, so how strong is that change kind of? Yeah.
So in this example, it was the mean, and that's what we're going to focus today. So like on average, it's this thing. On average, it's that thing.
Okay.
But you could, in change point analysis, it could be anything that's changed, like any statistical parameter. But we're just going to focus on the mean, because for me, I'm visualizing the LO ratings. Do correct me if I'm, like I say, I really do want to be like, I'm being proper academic here. I want people to come back and tell me whether or not I'm talking rubbish. For me, I am imagining, like we said, that Man United has got some ranking that we're trying to find through watching the games and seeing them against other people and trying to rate them. So yeah, in my mind, it is like this, that it's like we're watching these things, we're getting this rating, and it's got some value that we're trying to find through the data. So here we go. I'm going to go, like we say, it's Vidic versus Van Dijk, and I'm going to start with Vidic because it's in the past. Yep. And I've been a bit sneaky here. I've taken the dates off because I wanted just to
see if I could spot.
Yeah, when you think that Vidic arrived.
I mean, there's probably 1 point you could guess for, around 1500 as being that could be a change point.
Yeah.
But also, 2300-ish. Yeah. There's also, I'm not sure there's a really clear defined change point.
Right.
Certainly not like previous.
So what I did was, like I say, I was thinking about this in terms of changes of mean, which, as I say, I think that's a bit dodgy. It's probably regression or maybe even auto-regression. But anyway, I've just gone changes in mean. So I said to the package, find a maximum of 5. So like you've just said there, is there 1? Yeah. But, max 5. So just think, I just picked 5, right?
Yeah.
And I just did this with the change point package in R. I put reference because I'm a good academic. And as I said, I'm just using all the defaults because I'm not claiming to be an expert whatsoever. Yep. So actually, I think if I hadn't have set that limit of 5, I think it would just fill it with change points because, like I said, technically, every single one is a change point. But anyway, so I just said, where are the 5, like you say, that look like they're changing? It did find 5. Okay. And these are what it did. And again, I think if I'd have said to you, like, draw the underlying line, I think that is sort of following the shape of it, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm not sure about the one at around 2000-ish. Is kind of down then up and... Yeah. Anyway, the other ones, you can say the first one is probably too early to say whether it's a strong change, but the ones in the middle you can.
And like I say, we could go into what there's. I say that change point package. There's lots of ways you can find these things. And
I suppose change points down as well. Well, I'm thinking of change points up because we're looking for an improvement. Yeah. Change points down are a thing as well.
Absolutely. Yes. Right. So you thought Vidic, or you thought there might be a change point around that 1500. Yep. It is sort of hitting it. I think what you'll find, because of the way I've dodgily applied this package, is that when you have this kind of increase, so it's like we say, in my mind, it's like, the parameter's wrong. And so we're just improving it. We're trying to climb up to the right value. So I think the change point analysis is only going to kind of find like halfway through the path. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can see it's sort of halfway up that steep curve. Right, you ready for when Vidic was there? I'm going to put some dashed lines on for you. Yeah, that's when Vidic was there.
Yeah, you can. It's a good match. It's a good pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I say, so the change point, like we said, is coming in kind of halfway along that line. That is the one. That is the one that you identified as your most confident change point. as I say, you can expect it to be kind of halfway up. But when you look at Vidic's arrival, it is right in the valley, isn't it?
Well, I think what's interesting also is in leaving.
Yeah.
His leaving has been picked out as a downward change point.
Absolutely. I mean, like you say, it was going on there.
There's going to be other people departing at that period too.
Yeah.
But it's very interesting.
Yeah. So when I saw this, I was like, oh, maybe it's Vidic. I mean, for me, the fact that it's right at that valley.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, and then we can see, but as we said before, that first season was a second place. Then they went on.
Right.
His full, I think, first 3 seasons were first place.
Right. So
there was a second place in there where he had a cruciate injury and was out for 2/3 of the season, and they came second. So I mean, as with all of this stuff, as we've said earlier, because we're looking back at this, there's going to be a correlation.
Yeah.
We are humans, and we're seeing we know that Man U won some stuff, and Vidic kind of signed at the start of all of that. So we're seeing correlation, but it might not be causation.
Yeah,
but
you picked out 2 great players already.
Yeah.
And then looked at how great they were for their team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So I had a little look. I'm not going to... you're going to tell me off because we like to try and keep these episodes short, but I could tell you what each of those change points...
They correspond to events.
They are like when
a little bit correlation, but yeah.
When I looked on Wikipedia, I was like, oh yeah, it's kind of you said well, let's pick up one that you were saying before. Okay, change points can go down.
Yeah,
Alex Ferguson leaving.
Yeah,
so I think that's what it was on that one, not Vidic necessarily. And like we say, other ones that one of the ups is the treble season and things like that.
Yeah.
So they do. When you had a look at them, it does fit with.
Yeah,
something good happened that season. But like I say, because we're looking back, it is to be expected because to win a treble, they would have won lots of games. So, of course, their LA rating was going up and up and up. Back to Liverpool then and Van Dijk.
This is Van Dijk's impact.
So I think this one you do know because, Van Dijk is still playing for them. So you know we're on the right-hand side of the plot. The point is, at what point in time did Van Dijk arrive?
I'm going to have to guess at 2,500. That looks like such a strong change. Yep.
They're the change points.
Right.
Again, I think now you know a little bit about how this package is working. I think you probably would have drawn those in.
Yeah.
Definitely that one at the start.
Yeah, it tends to pick mid-points, doesn't it, rather than...
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
So we are seeing a change point where you're saying we're seeing a change point. I think if I did have a play with this, if I gave it more change points, it started doing those things at the end.
Yeah, I mean, like if you said pick infinite change points, it's going to follow that line.
Yeah, it just follows exactly, yeah. As I say, because this is dodgy, I'm not pretending it isn't. That's where so it's like absolutely bang on when he arrived. But I would argue it's halfway. They were already on the up.
They were already on the up. So that was was that Klopp joining then? Oh.
Yeah. Because then I did the same thing for those change points and looked on Wikipedia what was happening that season. And again, it does sort of fit. But the thing that it says on Wikipedia for like that point in time is Klopp subsequently made a number of high-profile signings, including Van Dijk. So Wikipedia is saying that point in time it is Van Dijk.
Notable, yeah.
But there's a few notable.
So Vidic was like right on the dip, whereas Van Dijk's halfway through. So
but I don't know if this is where we get to the end of it, right? So I don't know if that means that. Is Van Dijk the best January signing? Because in a sense, it was like they were on the way up.
Yeah.
But they could have stopped there.
Yeah.
As you see in those time series. But it was that, like we say, the January transfer signing is the extra push to get you over the line. It's the missing link. Whereas, is Vidic more of a summer signing that's kind of, we need something here. And he's really turned things around. I don't know. So comparing them, just trying to be scientific about it, I looked at sort of the jump.
Yeah.
So the difference in that mean before and after the change point. So the difference for Man U was 65. And again, with your eyes, you can see it's not as big a jump. But it's again, because this is going back to what the 4-4-2, I think, writer was saying. You're joining a good team that they've been doing really well. Then they'd had a bit of an off year. And then you come in and, as opposed to Liverpool, who hadn't
had such a good time,
They were trying to kind of come back and win it for the first time. So, the Manchester United change is 65, which is about 3% of the LO rating when he started, a 3% increase. Whereas the change at Liverpool is 176, which is like 10% of the LO rating. So, like we say, a massive jump. And I think the good thing we could say about both of these are they're still there. So it's not like there's a change point within when these players are playing for the teams. But as you say, actually, if I allow a few more, you do start to see it at this end. Because Liverpool are having this kind of...
they're up and down at the moment, Interesting.
So that's where I got to. I still don't know the answer to my own question.
I kind of think you have because it's a 10% increase in their ELO rating when Van Dijk joins. That's a really good case for Van Dijk being the best January transfer signing ever. That's a strong case.
Okay, so that was my go at trying to do it. Did you have any thoughts about doing it?
You've made a really strong case as to why Van Dijk would be the strong ever, but
I thought there was going to be a but.
You're wrong. So I did a similar kind of analysis.
Oh, that's good. That makes me feel a bit better about my dodgy analysis.
What I was thinking of is not as good mathematically, but like what defines a January signing? You're signing them in January. So you want somebody...
that's the first one.
That sounds obvious.
Yeah.
You're signing them in January because you want them for the rest of that year. Most often, you mentioned Seamus Coleman earlier as being or I mentioned it as like a pickup that's a random person, just that you had that chance.
Mm-hmm.
Van Dijk's not that. Van Dijk, they wanted for the rest of that season, they wanted as soon as possible to address a need they were having.
That would say they had been going after him and they decided, no, let's go now.
Yeah.
They could have gone in one of the other summers, but let's go now. We need him now.
Yeah. So I was thinking, what you want from a January signing is an improvement for the rest of the season. And is that the defining characteristic? Is the difference for the rest of that season? So you've highlighted Vidic and Van Dijk.
Yeah, so
they didn't make that big a difference that season. They made a bigger difference further down the line. So are they a great January signing?
Yeah, I agree with you on that one.
Or are they a great signing in January?
Yeah, as I say, this is why I was being honest and scientific about it. I put the league tables up because both of them had a similar pattern. Yeah.
So what I did,
I love this because, as you say, so we've had the same question where I've been like, oh, who are these two people? Can we separate them with maths? Whereas you've been, I would say, even better about this and started with a clean slate, thought about your metric, and then thought, who does the data tell us is good? Right.
So I took all of the seasons between, 99, which was too early because I think 2022, because that's the complete data I had, and split the season into before January and after.
Now you're just like
January.
So Jess,
February
you should
onwards.
have told me about these websites before. I did all this stuff.
Well, I needed a bit more than that, but that could have worked as well to look at the later years. But so I took all of those and said points per game before, points per game after.
Yeah.
So points per game rather than total points, because obviously it's a different number of games, but points per game in those two sections. What team has the biggest difference between those two halves of the season?
Tell me the years again.
So 1999 to 2022.
And 22?
Yeah. 22.
Oh, right. You got all the way to 22.
Yeah. So we've got like 26, a number of seasons, 23 seasons in the set that I've used.
Well, I would have thought that, but I don't know if there's a January transfer signing. Leicester will have had a massive jump in that.
So the difference, that the biggest one by a significant amount is Newcastle in the 2021-2022 season.
Kieran Trippier?
So Kieran Trippier was on lists of best January signings ever.
Yeah.
However, I wouldn't have him as mine.
Right.
So they were 1.5 points better in the second half of the season than they were in the first half of the season. So 20th of November that year, Eddie Howe comes in.
Right.
So it's not just Eddie Howe, because he had a period of games where you don't see a difference, and I looked at him as a different point as well, not a fancy change point. Just having a look at the stats and the results, you could see he didn't make a big difference straight away. So 20th of November, he comes in for Steve Bruce, who was having a very bad time. They do sign in January. They signed 4 signings. They signed Bruno Guimaraes. They signed Chris Wood, Kieran Trippier, Dan Burn.
Wood, so I was right with the year.
So,
okay.
So, no, that's good work,
yeah.
Kieran Trippier spent most of that season injured. Played a few games.
As I was saying it, I was like, no, it's not going to be Kieran Trippier.
So this is the thing saying about how great he was as a January signing. He was quite
not
injured.
in that season
not
again.
in that season.
Yeah.
Chris Wood scored like 1 goal in that period because he didn't have he had a great time at Forest, but not a great time at Newcastle.
This is just like ex-Leeds special, isn't it?
So So Dan Burn,
You're not going to tell me
Bruno
it's Chris Wood.
Guimaraes.
Right, no good.
Dan Burn and Bruno Guimaraes both played all of the rest of the games, 17 games. Bruno Guimaraes scored like 5 goals, got 1 assist. Dan Burn scored 1, I think, or got 1 assist. But anyway, so Newcastle went from the first half of the season, they were scoring on average 1 goal a game, conceding 2.2. The XG was bad as well. They were conceding, and then in the second half of the season, they were scoring 1.4, but conceding only 1.12 goals. For 13 million, signing Dan Burn,
I was hoping it was Dan Burn.
Made them go from having 1 clean sheet in that first half of the season to 7 in the last 17 games. So my argument for the best January signing ever is Dan Burn, because they made the biggest difference in that January season. So £13 million as well, not a fraction of the money, but their defence had the biggest improvement. Bruno Guimaraes obviously contributes to the defence as well.
Yeah,
scored. He scores a lot more goals than you would expect as well. But Dan Burn, best January signing ever. Not on anybody's list that I saw, but 7 clean sheets in that period.
Shout. I'm going to shout out 442 Magazine did a piece on Dan Burn.
Yeah.
And so as soon as he said the name, I was rooting for him, because it's a great story.
Yeah.
And he's from Newcastle as well. So I was coming back to Newcastle. So that is a great shout. I wanted to do that. So that's what I was but I was thinking, you're going to tell me off because it's going to be too long. So I was going to do that as well with all the, do change point analysis of all the teams.
Yeah.
Calculate these and then
see who's
work back. Yeah. But I thought, no, you'll tell me off, it's too long. So just stick to the 2. So I think we've got 3 good candidates then.
Yeah.
Vidic, Van Dijk. I'm still not sure. You.
So they both so Liverpool and Man United don't come up highly in that list of a big change around in points.
No, like
points
I say, it's because. But then, like
they will in the long term. That's what your analysis has shown. In the longer term, they do make a big difference. But in that
neither of them
January period, in post January, the rest of that season, that Newcastle turnaround is incredible. As I say, the distribution that they're well away, they are significantly different. I can put the p-value on screen.
Yeah, nice.
Wilcox and Test.
People will want to see the p-value.
Yeah. So Dan Burn made the biggest difference. Even though, so they signed over 4 players. Kieran Trippier barely played. 1 attack, 1 midfield, 1 defender. The biggest change around is what they did in defence.
Yep. I like it. I like it a lot. I'm just going to throw it out there. Again, I didn't do this because I thought you'd tell me off. But when I was doing all these things, all the names that you do see, I was going to do a nested tree diagram, our favourite diagram, to see what teams are coming up, what positions are coming up. I think, because I didn't do that analysis, but I think defenders.
Yeah, it's interesting we've all highlighted defenders.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a striker.
Yeah, a lot of analysis points towards strikers because of, you can point towards goals per game in that season, that sort of thing. Aubameyang comes up, he scored like 10 goals in that remaining of the season. However, Arsenal didn't do a big turnaround in performance. So you could say Semenyo scored a lot of goals so far, but not produced a lot of results. So
we shall see. Yeah, we shall see. So I think once again, as we thought, we've not necessarily been able to prove who the greatest is.
Well, you've not.
Well, let's let the viewers decide. Put a comment. Who is it? Van Dijk, Vidic, or
Dan Burn?
Dan Burn. And we shall see you on the corridor of uncertainty very soon.